With Lamar Jackson's rookie contract ending this offseason, there are quite a bit of questions surrounding whether or not he'll stay in Baltimore or leave for somewhere else. So let's get into this.
Jackson looking deep for Duvernay, and he makes the adjustment and the catch!
After taking over for Joe Flacco midway through his rookie season, Lamar was able to prove time and time again that he was not just elite, but an anomaly at quarterback.
Completion, here's Lamar on a run.
Takes it himself. Look at him turn back and forth. Oh! He broke his ankle. Got a touchdown.
Going into his first actual year as a starter, expectations were pretty high considering how well he was able to play as a rookie, but I guess they weren't high enough.
Second down and 10. Here's Jackson taking it again. Lead blocked by Boyle. A foot race with Kirkpatrick.
His over 3,100 yards and 36 touchdowns passing were impressive in their own right, but an NFL record over 1,200 yards and 7 touchdowns on the ground was able to help him win an MVP in what was one of the best performances by a quarterback in NFL history. All of that as a second-year quarterback is some Mahomes-level stuff, and so it established Lamar as one of the most exciting young studs in the league, although Baltimore got knocked out of the playoffs in the first round back-to-back years.
Jackson on 4th and 11, and that'll do it.
Following a pretty damn insane MVP year, Lamar was able to put together a solid next few seasons with the Ravens. But throughout the past 2 years, injuries have kept him from getting back to that MVP level. Don't get me wrong, Lamar's been doing his thing, and is still one of the best players, not just quarterbacks in the league. But let's just say that he hasn't gotten any more hardware. As I mentioned a bit ago, injuries have prevented Lamar from playing like he did back in 2019, and last year he only played 12 out of the 17 games, which makes the Ravens' 10-7 record all the more impressive. Backup Tyler Huntley has done well when he's had to step in, but he's no Lamar, and when you add that to the fact that running back stud J.K. Dobbins has dealt with injuries as well, it's made it difficult for Baltimore to gain any momentum. Ever since they lost Hollywood, the Ravens' receiving core has been extremely depleted, and it's a big reason as to why Mark Andrews is going ham. The situation they got there kind of reminds me of what's going on with Mahomes and Kelsey and KC after they lost Tyreek. And surprisingly enough, in both cases, there hasn't been as big a drop-off as many would have guessed.
There's Mahomes to throw. Deep shot, left sideline, and it's caught.
No matter the case, Lamar's had a bit of an up and down last few years. So after injuries prevented him from playing against Cincinnati in the wild card, questions started to come up about whether or not it was time for him to leave Baltimore and test out free agency. It may seem insane for someone who's only a few years off of an MVP to leave a team that has been as consistent as the Ravens. But this situation is a bit more complex than just that. If we rewind back to the last offseason, there were talks about Lamar getting a big contract, which likely would have needed to be pretty massive considering that he's a superstar, but nothing came to be. Baltimore tried to offer him a contract extension, but it seemed to lowball him, as Lamar believed that he could play well enough to get some more cheddar the next time around.
Lamar Jackson is injured, and we believe it happened on this play here.
When he's been in, Lamar's been able to play pretty damn well, but a sprained MCL took him out of the last 5 games of the season, and upon that, the Ravens' wildcard matchup against Cincy. So it's not exactly been the kind of year that you would want to get a bigger contract. But then again, you can't control injuries. So instead, it's just made this offseason much more interesting. Sorry to stop the video, but since you're here, it'd be awesome if you could subscribe, like, turn on post notifications, and comment down below who you think is going to win the Super Bowl. Anyways, back to the video. If Lamar and the Ravens had a healthy relationship going into this offseason, this would all be much simpler. But since the two weren't able to come to terms last year, it's caused a lot of speculation about the future of Lamar in Baltimore. Since my man is the centerpiece of the team, losing him would be the worst case scenario, so it's led to quite a bit of change.
The latest, a really big one for a lot of reasons.
After 6 years with the team, former OC Greg Roman and the Ravens parted ways, and I have a feeling that a big part of it had to do with Lamar's contract situation. Since the offense has been stuck in the mud for a bit these last few years, change was needed in order to keep Lamar in Baltimore, and it seems like the front office noticed. Greg may have been there for Lamar's MVP season, but ever since then, the offense has been overshadowed by some great defensive play on the other side of the ball, and it's led to them coming up short time and time again. The frustration of the struggles on offense came to a boiling point in their wildcard loss against Cincinnati, with running back J.K. Dobbins going off about his lack of usage.
I'm tired of holding that back. I'm tired of that. It's the playoffs. I'm tired of holding that back. Let's go win the game.
You know what? Honestly, I can't blame him, because watching the game, he was playing pretty well, but I guess Greg just had other plans. Anyways, the firing seems to play hand in hand with the Ravens' desire to keep Lamar on the team, with Coach Harbaugh saying that he'll be involved in the replacement process. This whole situation gives me a bit of deja vu to what Green Bay did a bit ago in order to keep Rodgers with the Packers, as in that situation they promised him the world in order to keep him in the Bay.
No. Wait. wait.
I'm sure the Ravens will do pretty much the same thing to keep Lamar, and so having him involved in the offensive coordinator search is a pretty good start. And based on his recent tweets over the last few days, it seems like Lamar would want to go back to his Louisville roots and run a pro-style offense in Baltimore. So I guess we'll see if that affects the decision making behind the hire, but I think it will have some influence at the very least. Based on what Harbaugh, the Ravens GM, and everyone in the organization has said, Lamar is staying with the Ravens no matter what. But let's just say that stuff like this has happened before, so words only go so far, especially for someone who has been in a situation like Lamar. If both sides would have figured out a deal last offseason, this wouldn't even be a talking point. So there's a bit more to this than just getting a contract signed. But based on how adamant, almost desperate they've been as of late, I'm guessing the Ravens would be down to shell out some cash for a stud like this.
Like Marshall Yonda. And throws it downfield, the bobble caught!
All the fluff aside, it's always fun to speculate what might happen if you were to leave. So you know what? Let's do some of that. Although it seems like Lamar is almost certainly staying in Baltimore based on how those inside the organization have been talking, nothing is ever truly what it seems, so I think it would be fun to speculate where he could go. As of writing this, the New York Jets have the best odds of landing Lamar this offseason if he were to leave. And I mean, it makes sense considering that they put together a pretty good team, and the only place of contention really just has been at quarterback.
The time inside Wilson. Intercepted, third of the day.
Outside of New York, Vegas and Atlanta are also in the mix, although I'm sure the Jets seem a bit more appealing considering their depth at the receiver and running back position, along with what many consider one of the best defenses in football. And you know what, let's be honest here. There's talks about Carolina, Indy, and Washington, but I doubt that Lamar would entertain any of those, except maybe the Commanders, because they aren't all that bad. Anyways, with all this in mind, I feel like the reason why New York is so above the rest of the pack is because if you went to any of the other teams, it would almost certainly be a bit of a downgrade considering how stacked Baltimore's roster is from top to bottom. Outside of the underwhelming receiving room, the Ravens have one of the best tight ends in football, a great running back in J.K. Dobbins, a solid O-line, and what could be one of the best defenses in the league. If Lamar was on a team like Indy or Houston, then these trade talks would be much more interesting. But since the Ravens have pretty much everything you want, except a number one wide receiver, I can't imagine it would be easy to leave for a team that is lacking everything else. Since my man is likely staying in Baltimore, I think a more interesting angle to look at is if the Ravens would potentially go after a wide receiver like Hopkins in order to give Lamar someone to throw to outside of Mark. It's a bit of a lofty hope considering that DeAndre is more than likely staying in AZ as long as Kyler is. But hey, maybe a potential Super Bowl run is a bit more enticing. No matter the case, if the Ravens don't get Hopkins, guys like DJ Chark or Paris Campbell could be interesting candidates. Or hey, maybe they'll dish out some money and go after studs like Robert Woods or Michael Thomas. You really never know. The future for Lamar and the Ravens seems much more in flux than it really is, because where I really think the mystery lies is in what they'll do in order to keep him in Baltimore. I'm sure a big contract, some new pieces, a pro-style coordinator, and some more stuff are in store. But hey, like I said before, you really never know. But anyways, what do you guys think? Is Lamar going to stay with the Ravens, or is he going to head off somewhere else? Comment down below your thoughts. Lamar Jackson has been one of the most entertaining players in football for quite some time, so it'll be very interesting to see where he ends up next.
Jackson keeps, gets it, and goodbye. Touchdown, Lamar Jackson, right up the gut.
Thanks for watching the video. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to subscribe, like, turn on post notifications, and comment down below what stuff you want next. But anyways, see you all soon, and God bless.
That's why they love you. Yeah, that's why I love you.